So, hello everyone. It's good to be with you. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about science. I'm going to talk about myself. That's what I've been asked to do. How come I did what I did? And it's a very curious series of experiences that I've had in my life. You have heard that I've done a number of different things. And you know, what occurs to me is that when you see something that somebody performs on stage, like an acrobacy, and under it says, okay, this is something real that can be done, but don't try it yourself. So that's what I'm telling you. What you hear is something that happened to me, but don't try it yourself. I haven't even tried it myself, I must say. I just allowed it to happen. And this is what I can suggest to you. If you have experiences in life that change your life, allow it to happen and be for it. Don't try to put yourself into a box. By the way, they are just going to publish my autobiography in the US and in different other languages, and the subtitle is A Life Out of the Box. A box is, you know, when you are within a kind of a framework. I've never been in one, and I don't intend to be, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the key experience that I've had. Now, I'm going to talk about 3 life shifts and a world shift. Now, you know the term shift. Very briefly, you think of things like that develop, you know, like progress is going little by little. You do a little bit here, you get a little bit more coming out there. That's not the way it works in the real world. What happens is you work for a while, you add something to it, and all of a sudden, if you are successful, something happens. Something very fast happens. There is a change, a transformation. Now, we are today on the edge of a transformation, which is actually a global transformation. It's a worldwide transformation. You can be an architect of that as young people. Now, I'm going to talk about a world shift last. First, I've been asked to talk about what took me to where I went and where I got to in my life. So I'm going to talk about 3 life shifts. You know, this is the autobiography that is going to be published shortly, and they're going to do a film on it as well. So by next summer, you'll hear probably more about this. But for the time being, I just give you some of the key ideas. As you see on this picture, I was, as a child, a concert pianist, a musician. I played all over the world. And until my teens and 20s, I played formally as a musician. I didn't think I would ever do anything else in my life. But then something happened. And what happened was the first of my life shifts. I call it the epiphany in the Alps. Now think of it. I was a successful concert pianist. I had many recordings, I played with all the orchestras, I played recitals. But why did I change? All of a sudden, I left that. I went to science. You see, as a child, I had a mother who was a concert pianist, a professor of piano. I had an uncle who lived in the same house with us, who was a philosopher and a scientist. And I used to practice with my mother in the morning, and I used to take walks with my uncle, not every afternoon, but several times a week. And in my teens, it seems music won out. But then later on in my life, I began to think of all the things that I heard as a child. And these things were questions. Who am I? What is this world like? Where am I going? Do I have a role in life? Can we tell which way society, humanity is going to evolve? These are all questions that I heard about as a child. And I started asking these questions myself. And when I really started asking these questions seriously was one night high up in the mountains, in the Alps. I was at New Year's Eve. My first son has just been born. And I asked myself, am I going to spend the rest of my life playing music, doing concerts, or am I going to do something else as well? And I said to myself, those questions that I heard as a child, maybe I should look at them seriously. So there I was standing, you see, New Year's Eve, a new year starting up, and I looked out at the valley in front of me, moonlight, snow all over, high up in the Alps, and the town glittering below. And I said, okay, I have this life. Let me try to do something with it. And I decided to very seriously start looking after these questions. I started going to universities, started doing research on my own. For a while, I had to make a living, so I had to give concerts. But I still started to go seriously after these so-called big questions in my life. Then, as it happened, I wrote down some of my notes. These notes got published because somebody picked them up, a publisher, and these became known. And then I got an invitation, interesting enough, from one of the top universities in the United States, Yale University, to come and do seminars at Yale, even though the only degree I had was in music, which I got when I was 15 years old. I didn't even have a high school degree. I was playing concerts all over the world. They said, why do you need a degree, you see? So nevertheless, Yale University invited me. They said they don't care what kind of formal degrees you have. You have written these books. We want you to come and explain these books and talk about it, have a seminars on it. So I went. But why did I decide to go? This was the second of my life shifts. This was almost a dramatic shift. You see, when you play on the concert stage, you are expected to concentrate on what you're doing. Any performance, you expected the performer to think what he's doing. My mind was going constantly on the things that occupied my attention, questions, big questions. How do things like societies evolve? What is the role of an individual in that evolution? And I was so busy in the middle of playing a concert in a very important place in Germany, in the native city of the great composer Ludwig van Beethoven, playing his works. So all of a sudden I found myself playing a movement of a sonata by Beethoven and not knowing whether I'm playing the beginning or the end. Because you see, the same theme comes in the beginning as it comes again in the end. I was so busy, I didn't know. Now, if you make a mistake, it's a catastrophe. Because you either skip the entire movement or you repeat the entire movement. So I decided, now, if I guess this time right, I'm going to accept an invitation which I just got from Yale. I got it right because nobody said anything. I guess just sheer luck. And next morning, I replied to the letter from Yale saying, I'm coming. And that's why I became an academic. And I started a career in the universities teaching philosophy and philosophy of science, teaching in many places in the United States and also in Korea, in Japan, in China. Then came my next life shift. And this wasn't kind of an intuition. Again, another kind of an intuition. You see, I just heard that a great teacher of mine, somebody who was really an impressive, innovative, serious person, has died, and he didn't finish the book that he was working on. I said, my goodness, all these ideas will disappear with him. And I said to myself, somehow, this was at night, and it was on the shores of the Sea of the Mediterranean. And I said, no, somehow, these ideas are there in nature. They don't disappear. They stay. How can you get it? Is there an internet in nature that you can access, where everything is recorded? Like this talk, I understand, is recorded, and you can play it back again afterwards. And you can see it anywhere you are in the world if you go on the internet. Is there such a thing as natural memory, a recording? And I said, yes, there is. It turned out to be an ancient intuition that the Sanskrits had, the early Chinese culture, Indian cultures had. They called it the Akasha, the Akashic record, where everything is recorded. I did research on it. I found that, yes, in the new physics, the new cosmology, the new quantum physics actually says in nature all things are connected and all things endure in some way. The information that we have on anything endures in nature. And you can get it. There is a kind of a cosmic internet that you can access. You can pick it up again. You have to enter into that right state of consciousness. So this is what we're about now. Why is this new stage of consciousness so important? And I will conclude with this. We are talking about a new evolution in nature. Culture, society evolves. This has been my problem all along. And we are on the midst of such an evolution that is very fast. You can't evolve a system. You can't change a system As long as the system is stable, it defends itself. It refuses to budge. The people in power, the institutions in power won't change. You have to go to young people, you have to go beyond the mainstream to change. But when the mainstream is in crisis, which it is now, not only a financial crisis, a social crisis, a cultural crisis, and so on, then that evolution is possible. So that evolution has to occur, and it has to come from the bottom up, not from the top down. The top will change when the grassroots changes. And the grassroots are people on the street, people who live their life, and they ask themselves, how should we live that we contribute, that we live better? Comes from young people, the next generation. I'm now involved with a university venture that will go online in all over the world. People will be able to access it anywhere they are. For relatively little fare, little money, they'll be able to get master's degrees with this new knowledge. The new knowledge, where did we come from? Where are we? Where could we be going? See? This is, I think, the key today, to be able to move forward. Because one thing we know, the world as it is today is not stable, not sustainable. It either breaks down or it changes. Now we, if we are really intelligent, if we are people who are truly deserves the name Homo sapiens, Homo the knower, man the knower, then we will attempt to change it consciously. Changes by evolving ourselves. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I say to you, this change is going to come in the world. You can be the architect of the change. The enormous challenge that we are facing can only be overcome through the development of a global consciousness. So try to change the world. The change can be you yourself. This is the world shift. I have come to this world shift through many shifts in my life. You can reach it directly by recognizing this world has to change, and you can be the one to change it. That is my message to you, and thank you for listening. Thank you.